All right. Hey guys. It's Dev. Back with another video. I remember when I first started making YouTube videos, I think I was let's say I was 22, 23, I think. And I remember the intro like, "Yeah, it's your boy Dev back at it with another YouTube video, man." All that stuff. But but now, I mean, I'm still that person. I'm always gonna be that person, but you know, an adult, I guess. I mean, I'm not changing who I am, but I'm trying to be more, I guess, direct and calm about things. So, but whatever, that's neither here or there. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about how I am tired of being humble. And I don't mean it in a bad way per se. I got a burp. I ain't gonna lie. Hold on. Sheesh, excuse me. Like I said, this all gonna be one take. I don't care. I'm gonna let it rock out. But yeah, I'm tired of being humble, but not in a bad way. It's more so like self-suppression kind of way. Uh I think well, I know for sure in my last video I talked about how I grew up, and when I was a kid, I used to, I wasn't never afraid to speak my mind or just say what I'm thinking about or what I know. And it got to a point where as the years went on and I would hear family members and people around me try to like shut me down, basically telling me, "Shut up, Devin, why you so smart? Why you getting smart?" and all this stuff. I heard that a lot as a kid, so progressively over time, especially when I got to like, I want to say middle school, I ended up like shutting myself down because it's just like, bro, it's just the negative feedback of me expressing myself and, I guess being an intellectual. I mean, I don't really like looking at myself like that because, I do think highly of myself, but I don't want to think highly of myself in an egocentrical way, you know, like arrogance. Like, that's not the type of person I am. I don't really like being arrogant because, just the way it comes off. And it's not about public perception or anything. I really don't care what people say or think about me, but it's more like a attitude. I can feel the hostility and negativity in my body whenever I was acting arrogant in a sense. So I try not to think or act that way. So for me, I do have a lot of self confidence, uh, high self esteem. So that's how I operate. Like I'm not gonna let nobody tell me who I am, necessarily tell me what to do either. Because I realize as I got older, the best way to control people is to control yourself. And once you control yourself, you start to see how people actually act. Their real colors start to come out and show. So that's the viewpoint I'm operating from is self confidence and yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. Self confidence. So now that, I'm going through these phases of life, I'm doing a lot of reflecting inside and outside of therapy. Like I already said in my last episode, like I've been going to therapy a lot, every week. Except for recently, like my therapist went on vacation. Like come on, bro. It's like, no, I love my therapist. She's a good person. My mom say the same thing because it's funny that me and my mom had this same therapist. Like before I started going to see her, she used to see my mom. So like when I go talk to her, she's like, "Yeah, Devin, I remember you would come in the office with your mom and your brothers and stuff. And I just remember how you guys were just looking and carrying yourselves and all that stuff." And I'm just like, bro, don't remind me of this, man. But it's a funny thing. It's like a full circle moment for her. I understand it. And I'll never forget when I went in there for my first two sessions and I was just telling her about my life. And I got to the point of like my parents and how I grew up, whatever. And then she's like, yeah, okay, I'm listening to your story. I get it, I get it. And then she was like, I was like, yeah, I think my mom used to come see you. And then she asked me who my mom was. And I told her, she was like, oh, yeah, everything's becoming a lot clearer now. I definitely know you. So, it's a fun time going in there. It's an experience, but I like going in there because in the past when I went to the therapy, I was able to suppress and hide a lot of things from them. But now with my current therapist, I can't do that because she knows who my mom is. And, sometimes my mom comes up in these sessions, she's like, Devin, please don't be like your mom. And I'm just like, I'm trying not to. So, it's a fun experience going to see my therapist every week, except for recently. Like I said, she went on vacation. I'm just like, bro, what are we doing here? But back to the point of being humble. So yeah, it's just more like I've suppressed myself too much, and I started to notice it maybe about like a few years ago, and I'm just like, all right, damn, I could have said this, I could have done this, I could have done that a long time ago, and so when it comes to like finishing projects or doing creative things for myself or even just general regular hobbies and even just being a social person, I started to realize that I was holding back a lot of who I am as a person. So now I'm in this stage of like I said, a lot of self-reflection. And when I look back at it, I'm just like, dog, like, where was the confidence, where was the faith in yourself? Jesus, allergies is killing me right now. But where was the faith in yourself when it came to acting out on these thoughts and activities and ideas? It's always been innate in me, but why did I not act? You know what I'm saying? Why have I been reactive instead of proactive as a person? So I've been doing a lot of reflecting now on that too. And, you know, I just like I said, I just look back at everything and I'm just like, dog, like, you got to be better. And I don't mean in a bad way, because I do have a high standard set for myself because I want to be successful in my own way. Not even external. Like, I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about cars, houses, popularity, social life. Like, I'm not worried about anything external except sneakers. I love sneakers, and everybody that knows me knows that. I can't. It's hard. I can't avoid sneakers. Like today, I was at work, and I was doing a community walk, and one of the guys that I do a community walk with, I had went into the store. It was like a clothing store and it was a sneaker store, and I was in there, and I was talking to the people in the store, whatever, just checking on the community because it was a shooting that happened in the neighborhood, whatever, and we was in like the shopping plaza. And then when I left, the guy I was working with, he was like, Devin, did you buy anything out of that store? I said, unfortunately, no. He was like, he started laughing. He's like, Devin, I know you like sneakers, man. I know you saw something in there that you liked, and I did. I seen a few pairs of sneakers in there that I liked. So I it's that's just one thing I cannot give up is just sneakers. So, but outside of that, like everything external, I'm not worried about. For me, it's more the intangibles, the things that you can't touch and you can't see. Like I said, a lot of character development. So, like I said, being humble, it has gotten me in rooms, that I feel like I needed to be. But the fact that I kept being humble in these areas and spaces also has held me back. And honestly, I'm just tired of doing it. It's very exhausting because holding back so much of yourself only depletes you. It only destroys you as time goes on. So I am working past the point of being humble. And, I've also noticed that being humble leads to people pleasing to an extent. And I've had that problem a lot ever since I want to say I want to say my freshman year of high school because I ain't gonna lie, when I was in middle school, I was bad. Like I didn't get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? No, I did get in trouble, but not like serious trouble. But like I was just middle school, I was just doing shit. Like, yo, I'll never forget when I made fun of my teacher for bringing us fake Oreos to class. And I was getting on her ass. I was like, man, what the fuck is these fake Oreos? These shit don't even taste real. Like, I was doing shit like that and like cursing out my classmates, getting into fights in the bathroom. Like, oh, the confidence and the arrogance at that time was there for sure. Like, I was just out there, just doing kid shit, but doing dumb shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And it's funny that now that I'm older and I'm an adult and I'm hanging out with my mom and I'm exposing these things to her, and she's like, "Boy, what the fuck? Why I know about this?" I'm like, "Why would I tell you I was being bad in school?" But it never showed up on my report card. And like, the teachers did call home every now and then when I was acting out and stuff, but like, they didn't call my mom enough. I will say that for sure, because especially in 8th grade, oh God, I was terrorizing my teachers. I'm not even gonna lie, but I feel like once I got to high school, like a shift happened, especially after my second little brother came, and I was like, I kind of had to push myself to the back just so my mom could take care of them and all that stuff, because it was my brother, my big little brother. He's my big little brother now. He's like so big. It's my big little brother Dre, and then it's my youngest little brother Aaron, and he's almost as big as me too. So I'm gonna have two big little brothers. It's hilarious, but once they came in the forefront of my family life, I pushed myself to the background because I understood that my mom had to take care of them now because they're little. They need my mom's attention. They need her help. They need everything they can get from her, even from an educational standpoint and just a emotional and mental standpoint. Because at that time, once Aaron came around, I was 15. So I'm like, yo, in 3 years, I'm technically going to be an adult. I need to start doing stuff for myself more anyway, even though I had to grow up fast anyway due to my life. Damn, excuse me again, but I had to grow up fast due to my life anyway, just from my parents divorcing and then us being homeless and then us having to move from apartment to apartment and house to house due to like just life drama. So I came to that realization. I was like, all right, yo, push yourself to the background. Let your mom do mom shit for your brothers. And it was like to a point I literally like I used to have longer braids than what my dreads are right now, but I cut all my hair off. I got rid of all my toys and I gave them to my little brother. And the only thing I really kept was sneakers and the PlayStation. Everything else that was like I felt like was kid oriented just went all to my brother or went in the trash. Cause I'm just like, all right, I'm a teenager now. I'm about to be an adult pretty soon. So that's just the life that I started to live and the mentality I started to carry. And luckily for me, I had a group of friends. Well, not yet specifically. I had Josh, and that was it. um, and then down the line, like when I moved to my new neighborhood, which was the actual hood, you feel me? I ended up meeting Kevin, and then once I started to go to high school, I ended up meeting Terrence. And it's funny how me and Kevin met because we used to play basketball with each other and against each other. And he tells the story every time about how when it was in a middle school game and we were playing whatever, and I went to Fishwick. It was Jackson at the time, but I went to Fishwick, and I ain't gonna lie, like we sucked at basketball, and the only people on the team that was good was me, Josh, and one of my friends at the time. His name was Dre. But outside of that, like nobody could score, nobody could really play defense, nobody could pass. So like we was doing a lot of the compensation for what the team needed. And my 8th grade year, like since it was just us three carrying the load of the offense and the defense, like a lot of the games that we lost every game, I'm not gonna lie. But all the games that we lost, except for maybe like two or three of them, were literally like within like 7 points. So yeah, it was a crazy time. Like my school was literally so ass at basketball, but they were good at baseball and soccer. I mean, that's where all the foreign students went to my school. So, you know, so once I got to high school, I met Kevin and Terrence, and they're still my friends to this day. Like I talk to them every day and all that stuff too. And honestly, after the conversation I had with Kevin this morning, that inspired me to make this video about being humble because it was Monday and late last night, I kind of went on a little rant online, about my personal life. I didn't expose too much, but the one thing that I exposed, it was a lot. I don't regret it or anything like that because, it was just like I was just overwhelmed with my thoughts at the time and not necessarily the emotions. The emotions started setting in because of something else outside of that happened to me. Um so that's where everything kind of like spilled over for me a little bit, but what I said online had nothing to do with my emotions that was going on outside of everything. So, and that's another story that I'll end up telling down the line too. But, you know, it had a lot to do with my past relationship. But like I said, I only exposed one thing, but it was like a sonic boom, I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, I don't feel bad for what I said or what I did or what I exposed about myself because I don't mind being vulnerable or anything like that. So like, I said what I said, and I ain't say nothing bad about anybody or anything. It's just it was like I said, it was a very sensitive moment. So I'll say that. But I don't regret anything I did. I know what I did, and I was just acting. Not acting in a like faking, but like I was just acting and going through the motions and processing everything. And at that time, I just felt like that was just the best way for me to get it out. And I'm not gonna lie, like once I started, reviewing and reflecting on it, like I was really upset and angry about what happened towards the end of my relationship, and that's kind of like what I reflected on. And you know the my thought process during that moment was anger and revenge. And sometimes I get it, like I'm just like, I need to get my get back, like yo, she gotta feel the pain that she made me feel, what I'm saying. But you know that's not always the best option because people want a reaction out of you, and you can't give that to them. And I gave too much of my energy to that in that moment. But hey, it happens. It's part of life. I'm like I said, I'm not upset about what happened or what I said or what I did because at the end of the day, it is me. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of my life. It happened. Uh, it was a frustration. So, you know, that was my thoughts at the time: anger and revenge. And the reason why I felt like that was because throughout my life, when I have been looked over and disrespected and talked down on and lied on, you know, I've always taken a high road or always disregarded everything and just kept being nonchalant and let the things pass over. And when I reflect on those times where all that stuff happened to me, I'm just like, bro, why didn't you speak up for yourself? Or why did you not say anything? Or why didn't you put a stop to this? And that was my thought process going through what I was going through yesterday. Not yesterday, Monday. And I'm just like, all right, yo, nah, we gonna talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Like the people got to know what happened. And like most of the people that seen what I was talking about, most of them know me personally anyway. And they know my character, they know who I am. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I didn't feel too bad about doing it anyway. But sometimes it's kind of like, all right, that's too much going on. It's too much. It's too personal. You feel me? And shout out to Kevin, bro. Like, that's my dog. That's my brother. I love him so much. He reeled me back in this morning. He was just like, bro, like, I get it. I understand what you're going through. I know the truth. And the people that know the truth. So there's no reason to explain yourself, bro. Like, I get it. Like, I know how all the shit that happened to you in the past, like, outside this relationship, you've been you've been quiet, dude. You've been laid back and chilled, all that stuff. But like sometimes you just gotta let it rock out. And I'm like, dog, like I was just so like, nah, I'm not letting nothing rock out. Fuck that shit. But nah, he reeled me in. He reeled me back in real good. So like, I was like, yeah, bro, I hear you. Like, I'm glad you even talked to me. I'm glad you said something, bro. Because I ain't gonna lie, like I was just so heated, and I just, ooh, because it's just like I'm tired of hearing the lies and deceit and the bullshit, like about me, about stuff I did not do or did not say, or the actions that I did is being twisted and rewritten to rewrite history. So, like I hate when the truth that's told is being rewritten to make me seem like I'm telling lies, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I had the thought of like, yo, I'm tired of being humble. Somebody gonna feel my pain, somebody gonna feel this wrath. You feel me? Fuck out of here. So that's what made this video be a topic, you know what I'm saying? But once I calmed down about that, I even texted my mom this morning. I was like, yo, mom, I'm tired of being humble. And she sent me a screenshot from Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. Like I follow him on Instagram too. And it was just like, you're feeling like this because people are trying to make you look like the bad guy when in reality you're not the bad guy. It's just a reflection of who their character is. And I was like, damn, that's real, mom. That's so real. You know what I'm saying? And I was just explaining to her, I was just like, yo, I've been going through this throughout my life, being looked over, being ran over, disregarded, ignored, you know. So like I just been rebuilding myself internally to get rid of those feelings, like not suppress them, but to understand them, to reflect on them so I could be better moving forward in my life, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing it for a couple years though. Like when I ended the relationship before the last one, I started to do a lot more internal work because the first relationship, that relationship hurt me the worst because of who the person was and who she represented. Like she was not a bad person at all. Like she was really good to me. And when we separated, the way I went about it, it kind of, I was really avoidant. So I was just like, I don't feel good in this place. I'm gonna just dip out, you know what I'm saying? So ended up apologizing to her recently, things are good now, but that's where the everything stemmed from. Is just like, I started doing a lot of internal work, started to rebuild my self-confidence. I did a lot of meditations, I did a lot of reading books. um I spend a lot of time on YouTube for sure. So like, it's a lot of, I like using YouTube for educational purposes. And also like I like watching funny videos and stuff, and comedy videos, and other long form content on there. But usually when I'm on YouTube it's for educational purposes. So this is black cat out here. Why the nigga creeping? But anyways, but that's just what I get on YouTube for. But once I started doing that, a lot of that internal work, I started to rebuild my self confidence and be more open and be more social. And then after that, I got into another relationship, and a lot of that work I built up, it felt like it got destroyed because I was pouring a lot into my ex fiance. I was pouring a lot into her, and not realizing that I was taking a lot away from myself. So now that I'm out of that, you know, once I ended things, I felt like it made me a step closer into becoming a man. And honestly, ending that relationship helped me rebuild my self confidence even better because it's like, all right, you see that this is going wrong, you see it's not working for you, leave. And that's what I did. I ended up leaving. And that just made me feel a lot stronger. It just felt like, I finally stood up. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm looking at that moment, I'm just like, damn, I feel really strong. And now I'm at a point where I'm just like, all right, be yourself. And once that ended, it took I was really tired. My nervous system was fucked up. Like I couldn't only thing I could do outside of work and school was sleep. Like I didn't have energy to even like low key walk. So I wasn't going to the gym. I was barely eating. And throughout that process before of us separating, it was a lot of tension in the house, a lot of silent treatment between each other. Like I lost so much weight, it's not even crazy. Like I was at one point, like I was 175 pounds. Once that whole thing ended, and I started moving into my apartment and stuff, I got on the scale like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I weigh 145 pounds. It's so crazy. So, you know, but I've started to not rebuild, but build on my self confidence. And now that I'm sitting with myself and enjoying this journey, I have become obviously I'm happier, at least for how I see it in my mind and how I'm carrying myself throughout life. I'm a lot happier. I feel a lot mentally stronger. Like I said, I feel more manly. Um, I feel like I can socialize better, and I'm not afraid to ask for help anymore. And that was one of my big problems throughout life was asking for help because the way I grew up, I felt like I was forced to be hyper independent. So asking for help hasn't been too much of a problem anymore. So I'm starting to notice these small differences about myself. And I've always been able to take accountability for my actions. So that was never a problem. But when somebody presents something that they may see about me that may mess up my life or that is in a sense negative, like it could just be something I said or did wrong. Like I'm able to like look at it, internalize and be like, all right, I'm gonna change my behavior. I'm gonna be a better person. You feel me? Because at the end of the day, it's not what I did in making it right, is more about how it affected whoever it affected because they brought it to my attention. You know what I'm saying? So accountability has always been a thing for me. Like my mom held me accountable at a young age anyway, so I've always had to carry it throughout my life. So yeah, that's just where I'm at with my life, and I'm just tired of hiding myself, and that's what I mean by being humble. Like I'm tired of hiding who I am as a person. I'm tired of hiding my thoughts. I want to be more creative, more expressive of who I am internally and mentally. So, I've been doing those things and working on myself in that aspect, Like I said, being more social and being more confident. I started to notice that when I started to work on those things, a lot of I don't want to say this because it's gonna make me sound like I said arrogant, but I've noticed that a lot of people started to pay more attention to me, whether it's just looking at me or just wanting to have a conversation. So I've started to notice it a lot over the past couple of weeks, and people have started to expose and express things to me that they never expressed to me in the past. So I guess it's what the young generation calls aura. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how I've been able to view life as of late. So I've been working on things. This YouTube video outlet is one of them. Um, I'm also in the process of co-producing a EP, and I'm working on that right now. I finally started to go back outside because after my last relationship was over, I was deathly scared of going outside because I don't want to talk bad about her or anything, but she low key like tarnished my name to people that don't know me, and it really screwed with my psyche. So I was like deathly scared to go outside for a hot minute. But once I got over that mental blockage, I was just like, bro, I know what she said about me isn't me. You know what I'm saying? So I've started to go back outside more and connect with the people that I used to connect with and all that stuff. So that's another aspect of me not wanting to continue to be humble, but like not like I said, not humble in an arrogant way, more like in a self-suppression way. So, I've been like I said, I've been doing a lot of working on myself, trying to be a better person, working towards the next stages of my life. Because, like I said, 2 years from now, I'll be 30 years old, and that's just for me. That's the new start of my life. I think that's just people when they see 30, they're just like, "Oh my God, I'm so old." And I'm just like, "No, bro, that's when life actually starts." Honestly, so like I said, I feel like more of a man now since I was able to stand up for myself. Um, and now I'm just building on that. And yeah, that's just the aspect of life, and that's where I'm at in it. I'm just tired of being humble. And a song that keeps replaying in my head, by Kendrick Lamar, is called "Watch the Party Die," and it's the chorus every time. It's been replaying in my head for some days now, and I just felt like it resonates with me. And he says, "God give me light, God give me life, dear God, please give me peace. Dear God, please keep these lame niggas away from me. Dear God, keep me shining. The fuck do they really think? Pocket watching, they must be the police." God bless these words. Dear God, bless how I think. Dear God, draw the line. They trying to confuse them with me. Dear God, keep me shining. You know how hard I tried. I think it's time for me to watch the party die. And that's how I feel about the this ending phase of my life as I go into the new one. You know what I'm saying? Like the old parts of me is dead. Like I'm watching that party die. You know what I'm saying? The old habits and thoughts and relationships and character flaws that I had. Like, that's me watching my own party die. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's just how I've been viewing life lately. I've been trying to be better and not just deal with like sit in comfort, like offer myself solutions, you know? Because at the end of the day, you sit in comfort, you just gonna sit in comfort all day. You're gonna be lazy and you ain't gonna get shit done. You're not gonna grow that way. So I'm in the stage of, like sitting in the comfort, understanding it, but moving towards solutions. What's the next step? How you gonna be better? What you gotta do to get to that stage? Like, I'm going through the process and flowing through everything of what I want out of life. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Yeah, it's your boy Dev signing out. Peace.